Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. I'm Paul Enos, filling in for Sam Shad. Today, we are going to be talking to Assemblywoman Heather Goulding of District 27 up here in Washoe County. That's next on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Fantastic cocktails and delicious food.
It's a good time to eat.
Over 500 hot slots, plus electronic table games.
It's a good time to play.
Player rewards and big-time jackpots.
It's a good time to win.
Ooh, your good times are Tamarack.
Meet Nevada Health Link, Nevada's official health insurance marketplace. Your link to savings, selection, free assistance, and name brand health insurance, where 90% of enrollees lower the cost of their monthly premium. Everyone deserves access to quality health coverage, no matter your income or family size. Visit NevadaHealthLink.com. A few minutes could save you hundreds of dollars per month.
Nevada Health Link. Our plans are made for your plans.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
Welcome back to Nevada Newsmakers. We are here with Assemblywoman Heather Goulding. Assemblywoman, thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much. It's delightful to be here.
Well, it is. And I will say, hey, it was great working with you this legislative session. You know, I think that, you know, when you kind of get the consensus of the lobbyists, we talk about the freshmen. You were one of the ones that kind of rose to the top of somebody who's really great to work with. So,
well, thank you so much for saying that.
Well, so let's just talk a little bit about why you decided to do this job and who you represent.
Thank you. So I represent Assembly District 27. So 27 has, I think of sort of 3 different populations in Assembly District 27. One is the West University neighborhood, and my husband and I have lived there for 30 years. That's where we raised our kids. And that is inside the McCarran Loop and is really a very diverse neighborhood, lots of working folks, lots of teachers, an amazing number of teachers are in that neighborhood. And when I think about during session, and I would think about, okay, where is my constituency on this issue? I thought a lot about the teachers who I talked to at their doors. I think that they were very well represented in the folks that I talked to during the campaign season. So that's one large section. Then there is an area that kind of goes up Las Brisas, and those are a little bit more affluent neighborhood, and there's a slightly different perspective from folks in that neighborhood. I think that you get a little bit different flavor in that neighborhood of perspectives. And then Sun Valley and some of North Valleys. So Sun Valley has 20,000 residents.
Jeez.
I know, it's huge, right? So when you think about communities in Nevada,
That's Elko.
Yeah. So in itself, Sun Valley is larger than most communities in Nevada. So Sun Valley is really important to me, that Sun Valley's concerns and interests are being well represented. And really the issue that you and I worked on together was an outgrowth of an issue when I went up and talked to folks in Sun Valley and said, hey, what are the issues that are important to you here? I was at a neighborhood meeting where a high school student had walked to the meeting, and I don't know if you've ever walked along Sun Valley Boulevard, but it's a pretty dangerous place to walk, right? There aren't sidewalks along Sun Valley Boulevard. I think we're on the road to getting that sorted out here pretty soon. Commissioner Garcia has been working really hard on getting sidewalks there. So sidewalks is a big issue on Sun Valley, but another issue that's huge, and this high school student had shown up at this community meeting to say, please do something about abandoned vehicles. So abandoned vehicles are a blight on our communities, a blight on our wild spaces, but they're also a safety hazard. So, and you and I met when I came to talk to you in your role representing the towing industry about how do we make some progress on these abandoned vehicles. So those rural communities, the North Valleys and Sun Valley, are an important part of my district, and I was very committed to working on this issue that is an issue throughout our state. And I think that it was a great issue to establish relationships with folks throughout the state, other legislators, law enforcement, environmentalists. It was really an issue that was a nexus of so many interests and in a very nonpartisan way. Yeah. So it was a great opportunity to learn how to build consensus and troubleshoot. And I remember the very first meeting that we had, it was on the second day of session. And here I was, a freshman, and said, okay, all you folks that are concerned about this issue, let's have everybody come and sit around the table together. And that room was packed, right? We had law enforcement there, we had the towers there, we had environmentalists there, we had public defenders there. And the thing that I learned really early in the session was identifying the problem is a huge part of the complexity of legislating. So on that issue, I thought that the problem was that there's not a requirement that you transfer title when you sell a vehicle. The folks in Sun Valley had said, here's the problem, that we don't require this title transfer. You can get away with doing a bill of sale. And I think that their perception was that the difficulty was in holding people accountable when you had a vehicle that had been abandoned. But really, that wasn't the issue. The real issue was that we needed to streamline the process for getting rid of those vehicles. And there's still more issues that we have that we're going to tackle together in the future, and how we're going to have more equitable, who's going to pay for removing those things. That
was kind of the crux, where I come from. I'm CEO of the Nevada Trucking Association, have a large contingency of towers. And tow companies make their money in three ways. They make money on the tow, they make money on the storage, and then if nobody picks up the car, they make money on the sale of that vehicle. With an abandoned vehicle, there's no money there, and there's a requirement that you had to have it there for, in your lot, anywhere from 15 to 45 days. So, that kind of takes up a lot of space for something that you're likely not going to get paid anything but scrap on. Yeah. So, no, we really appreciate you helping us streamline that process, making it a little easier on our towing folks to go out there and do, this community service, because you're right, it is an issue across the state.
It is. And the thing that was really great to learn really early in the process was hearing from all the different factions that had a different perspective on that issue. It's a real nuts and bolts issue. And I think that this was one of the lessons that I learned during the session is it's important to listen to all the different perspectives. Invite everybody in early in the process. That doesn't mean that you will ultimately agree with everybody's perspective, but if you don't understand what the actual problem is, then the solution that you're advocating for is not likely to be successful in moving forward if you haven't understood, oh, here's a part of that problem that I didn't even know existed. So that was really the most enjoyable part of the entire legislative process for me, was learning about all the different ways that here's a problem in our state. Well, what exactly is the problem? And then working through those problems together with a really broad stakeholder group. That was super satisfying. And it was delightful to be able to work on this. It seems like a mundane issue, abandoned vehicles in the desert, or even on the street,
or neighborhoods. Yeah.
Right. So that was really fun, and it was funny. Right after session, I'm an avid cyclist, and one of the places if I need to go for a quick bike ride, I ride up Evans Canyon, and there was an abandoned, it's been clean for a long time, but I was riding up Evans Canyon, and there was this vehicle that clearly somebody had gone off-roading, and it was nosedived into the creek bed, and I was like, oh my God, there's an abandoned vehicle. We need to get that thing out of here. I know that there's a rule here that is going to help. So it was really fun.
So, I mean, that was an issue that affected your, a big part of your district. You also kind of had a concept of you wanted to do different kind of issues in different areas.
Yeah. So one of the things that as a freshman coming into session, I thought, all right, I want to be able to be successful and have some bills that are maybe low-hanging fruit, some easy things to work through, and then I'm also I'm here to represent my constituency and the state, and I'm willing to take on some higher risk bills. So I try to, in my portfolio of bills, have kind of a breadth. The irony is the issue that I thought would be the simplest, the bill that I thought was my fun bill, it died. So I had one bill that died in the Senate, and that was a bike safety bill that it didn't have the votes to get out of committee. So that was interesting to me that the what I thought was simple, and my colleagues said never say something's going to be simple. So
that's true.
So that one didn't get through, but we really made progress on one of the bills that I thought was going to be the most difficult. Did get the governor's signature, and that was a bill to help victims of domestic violence, and it added a concept into Nevada statute that only exists in a few states, and that's the issue of coercive debt. So something like 99% of victims of domestic violence are also victims of economic abuse. So this is when an abuser takes out loans or credit cards in the victim's name, and that traps the victim economically then to not be able to leave the abusive relationship. And adding a new concept to statute is a pretty big deal. And in other states, it's taken many sessions to get this kind of a bill through. So one of the folks that I worked on this bill with said to me, this was AB 250. And
you're going to forget those numbers.
I know. I'm already struggling with them. So this was AB 250, and Jonathan Norman from Legal Aid said, this bill has 9 lives. I cannot tell you how many times I thought it was dead. The night that we're calling bankers at 9 o'clock at night trying to work through some last minute. We thought it was dead. It was going to go to a vote the next day. And we got on the phone with folks and really worked through some issues. So yes, I had some issues that were sort of supposed to be low-hanging fruit, easy stuff, and some more complicated things. And I would not have necessarily predicted which one was successful and which one was not.
All right, we are here with Heather Goulding, Assemblymember from District 27, and we're going to be right back on Nevada Newsmakers.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
A power line is more than a power line. It's maintaining the bottom line for small businesses. It's keeping the assembly line moving for our workforce. For our brightest minds, it's meeting a deadline. It's on the front line with our heroes. And on the sidelines of the biggest games. It's a direct line to our loved ones. And it's a lifeline for the most vulnerable. There's a lot on the line.
The trucking industry is the most resilient link in the supply chain, moving 95% of our freight in the Silver State. And while essential, the road isn't always smooth. Supply chain disruptions, rising fuel costs, and unrealistic rules and laws that hamper our ability to serve our customers and country. Our prosperity and every sector of the economy, manufacturing, mining, medicine, and food from farm to table, is tied to trucks. There's nothing without trucking.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
Welcome back to Nevada Newsmakers. I'm Paul Enos, and we're here having a conversation with Assemblymember Heather Goulding of Assembly District 27. Got it right that time. You know, a lot of folks, they have no idea what this process is going to be like, and they're not sure if they want to come back. So, you know, how did this service kind of affect your day-to-day life, and is this something you want to do again?
I don't think there's any way to really appreciate the impact that it has on your life, but even more importantly, the life of your family. So my kids are grown up. This is actually one of the, I waited to run until my kids were grown up. I first thought about running when my kids were really small, and I decided that it wasn't the right time. I think the person who has suffered the most in this whole process is my husband, because I think that he's just kind of been abandoned, not only for session, but it's a massive time commitment during the campaign as well, and also during the interim. So we're having a little pause here. It's been really fabulous to have. We've had about a month and a half off, almost 2 months off now, and that's been really great. But the work of the legislator continues on during the interim, and to be effective, you need to commit the time. So as a freshman, you're like jamming everything in because you don't know until after Election Day, are you really going to have BDRs? As a freshman, people don't know if is it worth their time to talk to you? And then there you are, and you've got a lot of work to do really quickly. So I hope that I have the opportunity to serve again. I intend to run again. And I hope that what that means is that I have more time to work on building stakeholder groups and exploring what are the issues that are most important. So there's more than we could possibly get done during a legislative session, right? But what we can do is, okay, what are the issues? And I've already started to have conversations with the folks that I worked during this session on specific issues, on domestic violence issues, on healthcare issues. What are the next issues that we can work on together? Let's build on those successes. And so I'm delighted to have those conversations, have some time to work on working deliberately through some of those issues that are slightly more complicated than the ones that I was able to work on this session. And then keep my fingers crossed and hope that we've got a successful election cycle so that I have the opportunity to work on them during the next session.
Hey, they always say the best way to run is unopposed. So,
you know, here's the thing that I think you're sharper when you're running opposed. So
I would agree with that.
It's more expensive to run opposed. I only have one data point, which is, you know, I had a very competitive primary, less competitive general election last cycle. However, the general was a tighter race in the results in the end. But you learn a lot by having an opponent, much more so than running unopposed. You need to make a decision based on your own desires about moving forward, not about who's going to run against you. You don't know. I mean, it's like way too late before you know if there's going to be an opponent or not.
Well, and when you have an opponent, you kind of have that need to go out and talk to the folks in your district.
Oh, absolutely. And that is it's critical that you're hearing from the people that you hope to represent. What are their actual issues? One of the things that I thought was, I had worked for a breast cancer foundation, so healthcare has always been an important issue to me, and that's an issue that I had worked on in the past. What I hadn't understood was the importance of mental health care, and there was really a shift for me by talking to folks at their doors of the critical need for additional mental health care services. And I think that was one of the real tragedies of this session, is that we didn't make as much progress as we could have. One of the committee bills that I worked on was to create an Office of Children's Mental Health Care, the Office of Behavioral Health, Children's Behavioral Health at the state level. And it was one of the things that the intent was that piece of legislation would have been wrapped into one of the governor's big bills, and that bill ultimately died. So there were some shortcomings of the session that I think that one of the areas that really suffered was healthcare, which was really sad.
All right, we are talking to Assemblymember Heather Goulding of District 27 up here in Washoe County, and we're going to be right back on Nevada Newsmakers.
Carson Valley Inn, it's your place for the good times. Carson Valley Inn.
Welcome to Story County, where history meets innovation, and a pioneering spirit continues to shape our future. At the heart of the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, we power the future with global leaders in technology and manufacturing, driving progress that reaches far beyond our county lines. From advanced manufacturing to tech innovation, our industries are creating thousands of quality careers, fueling a vibrant economy that benefits every Nevadan. But it's more than just growth. Our community is our foundation, supporting families, empowering local initiatives, and creating a place where everyone belongs. Be part of a legacy built on bold ideas and boundless possibilities. Join us in building a brighter future right here in Story County. Story County, helping build Nevada's future.
Welcome to the Winnemucca Big R.
Hi, I'm John Walker. Welcome to Big R Lovelock.
Hi, I'm Rich Martin. Welcome to Fallon Big R.
My name is Braden. Welcome to Big R Fernley.
Hi, I'm Kelly. Welcome to Big R Sparks.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
Welcome back to Nevada Newsmakers. I'm Paul Enos. We are continuing our conversation with Assemblymember Heather Goulding of District 27. So you talked a little bit about the children's behavioral health and trying to make some progress there. Is that something you're going to be working on next session?
I certainly hope to. One of the we went to, only one of my bills had this sort of ceremonial signing. 5 of the bills, the language of 5 of my bills, the bills that I worked on, ultimately ended up being signed into law, which is super exciting.
It's a good track record for a freshman.
Thank you. They're all issues that I think are super important and are making some good positive impacts on the state. But at the signing, the one that we went to the governor's office, we were in the governor's office, it was Bill AB 360, which addressed the issue of congenital syphilis in the state. Bill, super, super proud of the work that we did on that bill. And the 2 physicians who worked, who introduced me to, I met them and I said, hey, what are the issues that we need to work on? And these 2 pediatricians said, syphilis, congenital syphilis. This was what.
I mean, that's a shocker to me.
Exactly, and this is why we need to talk about it. We need to be talking about healthcare issues in the state. So we went to the governor's office to have this bill signed, and when we were waiting for the governor, I asked these 2 pediatricians, what's next? What are we going to work on next session? And there are definitely issues, mental health care issues, absolutely, but also protecting abused and neglected children is a super important issue that we need to work on. And we also need to start addressing this issue, some vaccination issues. So making sure that people that have access to vaccinations. So they're important big issues that I'm looking forward to working on as we move forward if I have the opportunity to serve again.
So, Heather, I think it's important for folks to just kind of, hey, who are the folks that are making these decisions? So, I learned something new about you today, that you actually, do improv. But
let's put that in the past. So I will say past tense. I don't get on the up on the stage and do that anymore, but I did in the past, yes.
What's your background? So what should folks know about you?
Okay, to follow up on the improv thing, because you seemed intrigued by that. I'm 60. When I was 50, the year that I turned 50, I had this list of things that I wanted to do that I had not done before. And I'm sort of addicted to trying new things, like always try something new, always be a beginner at something. I think is super important. So when I was 50, I went to a workshop on improv. And I ended up taking a series of classes and then performing. And I just want to be very clear that I'm a bad improviser, that I certainly would never tell anybody that I'm an accomplished improviser, but I think that what you learn by taking improv training are life skills that are really important. So even if you are not particularly funny, I think that everybody can benefit from improvisation, and it's being in agreement with.
Has it served you well in this new role?
100%, it has. Go with the flow is a really good thing to do. So, being a good listener is critically important, and the best improvisers are good listeners, and then responding to what you're hearing. If you're always thinking about what your next statement is instead of really understanding somebody's issues. So really good improvisation is good listening.
I was going to say, I think that's a great skill for all politicians. Assemblymember, thank you so much. Really appreciate having you on today. And we are going to be right back on Nevada Newsmakers.
Each day, the Children's Advocacy Alliance partners with leaders, legislators, and families across Nevada to improve children's health, education, economic well-being, and safety. We recognize Nevada will be no better than the state of its children. Be a part of this change. Be a supporter of the Children's Advocacy Alliance. For more information, go to caanv.org.
Imagine a magical garden that feeds Carson City's hungry and homeless, teaches our high school students agriculture, creates hanging floral displays to beautify downtown, and yet charges nothing. It's not magic. It's the Greenhouse Project. It's real, it's growing, and it needs your help. Go online to carsоncitygreenhouse.org so together we can grow it forward.
Save money and take transit. Did you know you can ride the bus all day for less than what it would cost you for a gallon of gas? Plan your trip now by going to rtcwashoe.com.
It happens. And when it does, there's UMC Quick Care.
If you missed any of today's shows or want to see shows from the past 2 decades, you can go to NevadaNewsmakers.com and follow us on X at NV Newsmakers. Thanks for watching and listening.